After assisting Luis with a late-night surgery, I was overcome with unbearable abdominal pain. He immediately carried me to a hospital ward. But just as he was about to examine me, he received a call from a patient and hurried away. That night, I miscarried. When I came down from the operating table, I saw that his childhood sweetheart had posted a photo of her pregnant belly. I just got lost for a moment, and he rushed over worried to find me. Baby, you must be good to your daddy Luis in the future. I touched my faintly aching abdomen. Unlike before, I didn't cry or demand that Luis explain himself. I simply gave it a like. Then I applied for the Doctors Without Borders medical aid program. On the day I left, the usually proud and reserved Dr. Luis asked me with reddened eyes, "How could you bear to leave me behind?" Chapter 1. After learning that it was a miscarriage, I called Luis more than a dozen times. No one answered. My best friend Miranda, a gynecologist, held my hand and comforted me for a long time before persuading me to get on the operating table. Several times, I woke up from the pain because I couldn't tolerate the anesthesia. Each time, I hoped to see Luis by my side, but he wasn't there. Not until I came down from the operating table did he send a message. "Selena is my patient. I can't just ignore my responsibility. I hope you understand." Every time he left me to deal with Selena's matters, he would send me an explanation. I held my abdomen and rested in Miranda's office. I raised my hand and typed a line in the chat box. But this time, I needed you more. After thinking for a moment, I deleted it. Instead, I edited a new message and sent it. "Okay, Luis." Chapter 2. Although Miranda tried to persuade me for a long time, I did not stay in the hospital to recover. Otherwise, people would quickly find out that I had been pregnant. The hospital prohibits office romances. From the day Luis and I got together, he did not allow me to show any intimacy with him outside. In other people's eyes, we were merely colleagues who worked well together. I didn't want to add another reason for us to argue. Between us, because of Selena, there had already been many conflicts. After Miranda watched me over a video call to make sure I took my medicine, I sat on the sofa, feeling drowsy, half asleep. I was startled awake by the sound of the door opening. It was Luis. "You're back." I sat up. He hung up his coat and walked straight to the bathroom, not giving me a chance to continue speaking. It was always like this between us, colleagues outside, and at home, barely any conversation. Something chimed. I turned my head. It was Luis's phone on the table. A message had come from a girl with a cute cat avatar. I tapped it open. The contact name read Selena. "Thank you, brother Luis, for staying so late with me today. I was really happy to have you by my side." My fingers trembled slightly. I remembered the unbearable pain on the operating table, while I kept looking toward the operating room door, hoping to see a familiar figure appear. Was the person I was waiting for smiling at another girl? "What are you doing?" Luis's voice sounded from behind me. I turned around. He was wearing only a bath towel. Looking down at me, the water droplets on his abs had not yet been wiped away, sliding down along the lines of his muscles. "Oh, sorry, your phone just rang." I handed him the phone and looked up. "I didn't mean to read your messages." Luis didn't take it. "I never said you couldn't." He opened WeChat and showed me all the chat windows. "I told you. You can trust me." I froze, holding the phone. He nodded toward it with his chin. "If you want to check in the future, just check. You know the password anyway." Chapter 3. Luis would never cheat. His upbringing would never allow him to do such a thing. I smiled and shook my head. "No, I don't have the habit of checking other people's phones." He lowered his eyes and looked at me for a moment, then suddenly curled his lips into a smile. "Why didn't you cry this time?" "What?" "Every time I go take care of her, don't you always cry? Cry and demand that I give you an explanation?" I smiled and shook my head. 3 surgeries today. I'm too tired to cry." He didn't press further. Only after replying to Selena's message did he ask, "How is your health?" I froze for a moment. I turned my head and glanced at the medicine box I had just opened. Although Luis is a cardiothoracic surgeon, he understands this kind of gynecological medication too, because the patient he cares most about is a pregnant woman. Yet from beginning to end, he never noticed. "I'm fine." I smiled. There's something I want to talk to you about. The moment he finished speaking, his phone rang. He answered almost without hesitation. On the other end came Selena's sobbing voice. Luis, the surgery is tomorrow. I can't sleep. I'm so scared. Luis's hand tightened around the phone. The next second, he turned to get dressed. 10 minutes. Luis. I stepped forward and grabbed him. Roma. He was putting on his shoes. Hearing me, he turned his head. His handsome brows furrowed slightly, and his tone became much colder. I told you, I won't cheat. I paused. He had indeed said that. On the very first day we got together, he made that promise to me. He said he might not be a good partner, but he would definitely be a partner who would never cheat. All these years, although he had been distant toward me, he had indeed kept that promise. Selena's medical insurance card and ID. I placed the 2 cards into his pocket. Selena was careless by nature, so she simply kept her important documents with Luis. Whenever paperwork was needed, Luis handled it for her. Chapter 4. I raised my hand to fix the collar he had hurriedly tucked in wrong, straightening it twice. Come back early. I still have something to tell you. All the impatience in his eyes froze in that instant. He lowered his gaze, then gently squeezed my hand. Got it. The door opened quickly. I suddenly called out, Luis. He turned back. Do you love me? He froze for a moment, slightly frowning, looking at me with confusion. I quickly laughed. I'm joking. Today is my birthday. He was slightly startled. Then he smiled at me. All right, I'll bring you strawberry crisps when I come back. When I have time, I'll make it up to you. I smiled and nodded. Okay, but the door closed. My faint murmur echoed in the room. But I don't like strawberries. Chapter 5. Although I said I would wait for him to come back, I knew he wouldn't. The moment he left, I washed up and sat on the bed. Then I dialed the number I had hesitated over for a long time. Before long, the hospital director confirmed again in surprise. You're sure you want to volunteer for the Doctors Without Borders medical aid project in the Middle East? And specifically for Palestine? I'm sure. The situation over there, you know it well. You might not come back. I smiled. That's perfect. I can go see my parents then. It's fine. The director fell silent for a moment before speaking. Then, on behalf of the Donggang District Red Cross, I would like to express our highest respect to you. Chapter 6. When I woke up the next morning, I was the only one in the bed. Luis hadn't come back. I didn't call him countless times like before, crying and demanding an explanation. Instead, I took my medicine, got ready, and went to work. As I passed the VIP ward, a familiar voice came muffled from inside. What's so great about him that you insist on keeping his child? Why can't you just abort it? You've been pregnant for 4 months. Has he even asked about you once? My hand, about to knock, froze. It was Luis's voice. Selena sobbed. But it's still a little life. I can't bear to let it leave me. Luis's voice was angrier than I had ever heard before. Does the child have to be his? Why can he? But Luis. Selena cut him off. Then came a trembling question. Are you crazy? My hand, ready to knock, clenched into a fist. In the 3 years I had been with Luis, no matter how much I cried and fought over his involvement with Selena, he had never been this angry. Everyone said Dr. Luis was cold and self-controlled, never losing his temper. It turned out he just hadn't met the person who could truly stir his heart. A slightly trembling sigh came from inside the room. I'm sorry. I was too impulsive. Just pretend I didn't say anything. When the room fell quiet, I knocked on the door. Dr. Luis, are you there? There's a medical case that needs your personal review. After a few seconds, a voice came from inside. Come in. Chapter 7. I pushed the door open. Selena was sitting on the bed, looking as if nothing had happened, smiling at me. Oh, Roma, you're here so early. Have you had breakfast? I have strawberry crisps here. As she spoke, she handed me a large bag of strawberry crisps from the bedside table. I froze in place, forgetting to take it. My gaze shifted to the bedside table. Besides the strawberry crisps, There were chocolates, dried mango, preserved plum candies, milk tea, all things Luis used to buy for me. I heard my own disbelieving voice. These are all your favorites? Of course! I've loved sweets since I was little. Brother Luis has always loved buying me these treats. Watching her smile at me happily, my breath caught. Luis was cold, but he never lacked the care that should be there. That included the snacks he often brought me. He had never once asked what I liked to eat. I always ate whatever he brought. But I don't actually like sweets. So the things he brought me were always what Selena, his childhood sweetheart, liked. When this childhood sweetheart later went abroad, his love had nowhere to go. So he could only find someone to be the outlet for the love he had nowhere to place. Taking a deep breath, I smiled. Sorry, I don't like sweets. Then I turned and handed the medical file to Luis. Dr. Luis, please take a look. After speaking, I turned and went back to the office. It wasn't until I knocked over a cup of water in a daze that I came back to my senses. Chapter 8. Just as I was about to get a broom, a hand grabbed mine from behind. Luis? I froze, remembering we couldn't be affectionate outside. I instinctively tried to pull away, but this time, he held my hand tightly. Bending down, his beautiful peach blossom eyes searched my face for something. Didn't cry? He asked. I pushed him away slightly and picked up the broom. Stop it, Luis. We're at work. He sighed, took the broom from me, and helped clean up the broken glass on the floor. I saw that you liked Selena's post. He poured every shard into the trash can, double-bagged it, and tied it tightly. I know you're angry. I laughed. You're joking. He turned back, his brows sinking. His gaze searched my face several times. Finding no flaw, he sighed helplessly and sat across from me. Your ways of tormenting me are getting more and more creative. I'm not tormenting you. I really am not angry. Roma. Stop it, Luis. I stood up and smiled slightly. I need to do ward rounds. We can't be distracted during working hours. Remember? You said that. After I took 2 steps, his voice suddenly stopped me. Roma, Selena has surgery this afternoon. We need to work together. I froze for a moment, then turned. I know. He looked at me. I hope you won't let personal feelings affect your work. I smiled, a little bitter. So just now, Dr. Luis comforting me was because you were worried I might let jealousy affect her surgery? He shook his head. I didn't say that. I smiled. First, I'm not jealous. Second, Luis, I'm a doctor too. His brows furrowed slightly. I closed the office door. Chapter 9. Selena's condition was complicated. She was both pregnant and a cardiothoracic patient. The surgery took even longer than expected. Complications arose during the procedure. As the lead surgeon, Luis gave me quick and urgent instructions. Adrenaline, 0.1 micrograms. Okay. For a moment, my vision spun. Roma, a cold call of my name. I turned my head. Above the mask were his deep, icy eyes. Focus on your work. That gaze carried overwhelming pressure, and a strong sense of distrust. I nodded. Adrenaline, 0.1 micrograms. Only then did he lower his eyes and continue the operation. Chapter 10. Selena's surgery lasted until late at night. When I returned to the office, dizziness suddenly overwhelmed me. I hurriedly grabbed the desk for support. My legs went weak, my muscles trembled, and cold sweat soaked my back instantly. Selena is awake, but her condition still needs observation. This isn't the time to relax. Luis strode in, picked up his stethoscope, and was about to leave. I reached out and grabbed his sleeve. Luis, I feel unwell. He paused, then raised his hand and pushed mine away. You're a doctor too. You shouldn't ask me about this. There are other doctors with Selena. You don't have to. I didn't finish the sentence, because he had already walked away. I tried to grab him, but caught nothing and fell to the floor instead. Chapter 11. I think I had hypoglycemia. There was a bottle of glucose on the cabinet. I slowly moved toward it and grabbed it with trembling hands. But my hands shook so badly I couldn't open the cap. I couldn't even align my fingernails properly. My phone lay on the floor. I wanted to call Miranda, But I realized the screen was on the social media feed. Selena had just posted an update. It was a photo she took of Luis standing by her bed with a group of doctors for a consultation. In the photo, Luis looked serious and attentive, giving the patient a strong sense of security. Caption: when the first person I see after opening my eyes is you, I feel at ease. Crash! I lost my grip on the glucose bottle, and it fell to the floor. I hurried to catch it, but pressed my hand onto countless shards. The world spun. I could no longer hold on and collapsed. I heard a colleague's voice by my ear. Hey, Roma! Why did you faint here? Roma! Chapter 12. When I opened my eyes, Luis was sitting by my bed, supporting his head with one hand, eyes closed. Hearing my voice, he suddenly opened his eyes, revealing the red blood vessels in them. You didn't stay up all night, did you? I asked. He gave me a gentle smile. You didn't wake up, so I didn't dare sleep. Then thank you for your hard work. Dr. Luis. Roma. He took my hand and clasped it in both of his, warming it. She's pregnant, and she's my patient. I can't just leave her. Before being your boyfriend, I'm a doctor first. I nodded. I know, you don't have to explain. A soft chuckle sounded. He reached out and lightly tapped my nose. I know you're angry. Look at this. Behind him was a freshly made cake. Chapter 13. I said I would make up your birthday. He smiled at me. Did you think I forgot? I looked at the beautifully decorated cake and smiled. It is quite unexpected. Roma. He looked at me. I know you've been sulking these days. It's my fault for not noticing your condition in time. But the cream smells so good. I lowered my head and sniffed it, then reached out my hand to him. Did you bring candles? I cut off his words. He froze for a moment before handing me the candles, then looked at me as if he wanted to say something but hesitated. I placed the candles evenly on the frosting. He frowned. Roma, the lighter? I reached out my hand to him again. He looked slightly displeased, but still put the lighter in my hand. Don't talk now. Making a wish is a very sacred thing. All right. I lit the candles and clasped my hands together. Wish Roma safety and peace. Click! The sound of a shutter startled me. I opened my eyes. Luis's phone camera was pointed at me. Chapter 14. Our eyes met, and for a moment it felt awkward. You were taking a photo of me? I asked. He put his phone down. I don't know why either. I just felt like I should record this moment so I could look back at it later. I don't know why I suddenly had such a strange thought. I moved a little closer to him. Did you sense something, and that's why you raised the camera? He smiled. No, if you don't like it, I'll delete it. Don't. I pressed down on the phone. We've never taken a photo together. Let's take one. He froze for a moment, then handed me the phone. I unlocked the screen and froze. On it was a photo of him and Selena together. My solo photo had been replaced. Chapter 15. In the photo, the girl had one arm around his neck and was making a big peace sign with the other. And Luis, who had always disliked taking photos, looked slightly impatient but still cooperated with her pose. Yet when I had begged him countless times, he would always frown. Sometimes I have to project my screen during meetings. Do you want others to see our relationship? So I would awkwardly withdraw the hand that wanted to take a photo with him. Luis clearly froze too. He frowned, thought for a moment, then sighed. She probably changed it last time she was playing with my phone. Don't mind it. I smiled. It's your phone. You decide. I opened the camera. The photo album opened as well. Densely packed photos of the two of them filled the screen. Selena cupping his face playfully. Selena making a peace sign behind his head. Selena pretending to be angry while he watched her expression with interest. There were countless poses, and my solo photos were nowhere to be found. Roma, he paused. Selena likes taking photos. As her doctor, I can't keep refusing her. I smiled. That hurts. Luis, I begged you so many times, and you never agreed. Roma, all right. It's fine. Come on. 3, 2, 1. Cheese. As the shutter clicked, he grabbed my hand. Roma, you've been acting strange today. I admired the photo. Really? Yes. I turned to look at him. Some words were already on the tip of my tongue. He frowned slightly. Are you going to? Luis, your patient refuses to take her medicine. She says she'll only take it if you watch. Another doctor called from outside the door. He almost instantly let go of my hand and stood up. Got it. Luis. Roma. He turned back. I have to go. I froze for a moment. Then I smiled, cut a piece of cake, and handed it to him. The medicine is bitter. Bring her a piece of cake. He paused, but he still took the cake and left. The doctor who came to call him leaned closer mysteriously. Roma, you two don't have something going on, do you? Dr. Luis cares about you so much. I froze, then laughed. Don't talk nonsense. We're just colleagues. Chapter 16. The day my passport was ready, the director approved a few days of leave for me. Miranda and I went to a bar to celebrate wildly. In the past, I would never have come to a place like this, because Luis didn't like the smell of alcohol. But now, I no longer restricted myself like that. While Miranda and I were clinking glasses, my phone rang. It was Luis. Where are you? Why aren't you home? I froze for a moment. Suddenly, the message felt familiar. It was the kind of message I used to send him constantly. I'm out with Miranda. What's wrong? Luis sounded tired. Roma, Selena has always been like that. Since she was little, she needed someone watching her when she took medicine. I was just doing what a doctor should do. Don't. I won't mind. I interrupted him. There was a pause on the other end, followed by a sigh. If you have something to say, you can just say it. There's no need to torment me like this. I'm not tormenting you, Luis. I laughed. I know you grew up together, and she's your patient. It's only right that you take care of her. A long silence fell on the other end. I said hello, twice before Luis sighed softly. When will you come back? I'm planning to take some time off too. I'll take you to Yunnan. Haven't you always wanted to go to Dali? I thought about the flight to the Middle East in a week and shook my head. No, I don't have much time. Then, the amusement park near our home works too. Luis, why do you suddenly want to take me out? I teased. You weren't like this before. It's just something I should do as your boyfriend. My hand holding the phone paused. Then I smiled. We'll talk about it another time, Luis. And also, your tie is in the left drawer. I moved the books you usually read to the shelf where I keep my photo frames. You often rush out the door, and I've turned off the gas for you several times. Remember to check the gas before you leave. From now on, Roma. He interrupted me. Why are you telling me all this? I paused. Shouldn't I remind you? It's not that. It just feels strange hearing you say these things. The alcohol made my face warm. The words I had always wanted to say solemnly were on the tip of my tongue. Luis. I heard my own calm voice. We. Beep, beep. The sound of the call disconnecting rang out. A moment later, Luis sent a message. Selena is calling. We'll talk later. Looking at the familiar explanation, I smiled and shook my head, putting my phone away. Chapter 17. The last day of my leave happened to fall on a weekend. A few colleagues swapped shifts and came to hang out with me. Hey, do you think Luis has feelings for Roma? The hand I was using to pick up food paused. I laughed. What nonsense are you talking about? We're just colleagues. Would a colleague stay up all night when you fainted? It's not like we weren't there. You've misunderstood. We're just good partners. If one of us collapses, it's normal for the other to care. They looked unconvinced, but he didn't close his eyes the entire night. You have no idea how he looked at you when you were unconscious. I smiled, speechless. They probably had never seen the way Luis looked when something happened to Selena. You really misunderstood. We're just good colleagues. Really? Then look behind you. I turned around. At a single seat by the window, Luis was sitting in casual clothes. The ice in his drink had already melted. Water droplets had soaked the table in a ring around the glass. Yet his hands still rested on it. He's been sitting there not long after we arrived. He hasn't even taken a sip. Roma, just admit it. Is he pursuing you? Or, have you two actually been together for a long time? Come on, don't be shy. We won't tell anyone. I stared blankly at him sitting there. It had always been me secretly following behind him when he went to see Selena. I was always afraid they would cross the line, so I followed step by step like a thief. Then, when I saw that they did nothing inappropriate yet still laughed and talked happily, my emotions would twist into something indescribable. Dr. Luis. I walked over. Are you here to see someone? He looked up, and the expression startled me. Luis could have red eyes? Roma, we're leaving first. My colleagues hurriedly said goodbye and, without waiting for my response, slipped away, leaving just the two of us. Let's go home. He stood up and threw his coat over my shoulders. It's getting colder. Put it on. Chapter 18. When I got home, I went straight to the bathroom without saying a word to him. After washing away the smell of alcohol, I came out and saw Luis standing on the balcony, several cigarette butts already scattered at his feet. Smoke curled around him, the ember glowing on and off before his sharply defined face, tinting his beautiful peach blossom eyes with a faint red. Why are you smoking? I froze. Luis never smoked, and he never drank. He tossed a stack of papers onto the table. I picked them up. They were my miscarriage records. I said nothing. He kept smoking in silence. He was the first to speak, his voice hoarse. Was it that time? Yes. His breathing faltered for a moment. He threw the cigarette to the ground and crushed it under his foot. If I hadn't gone to see Miranda, were you going to keep this from me forever? I glanced at the medicine box I had thrown into the trash last time. I thought you already knew. If I told you, you would definitely blame me. Why would I blame you? He grabbed my shoulders with both hands. If I didn't ask, you would never say anything? The day after the miscarriage you went back to work and performed surgery like nothing happened. If I hadn't looked for you, would you have kept holding on alone? Do you even still see me as your boyfriend? I was a little stunned. Luis, didn't you say you were a doctor first? His grip on my shoulders tightened. But I can't not care about my girlfriend. His breathing trembled. It was the first time I had ever seen him lose control. The night breeze dispersed the smoke. I sighed. But my phone suddenly rang. Chapter 19. It was Luis's phone. That familiar contact name appeared in my sight. Luis's hand subconsciously loosened its grip on me, then paused. He looked at me. I smiled, picked up the phone, opened it, and held it to his ear. From the other end came the faint sound of Selena crying. In an instant, Luis grabbed the phone. I'm on my way. I was left on the balcony. He walked a few steps, then remembered something and turned back to explain. Selena miscarried. It's urgent. I responded lightly. His gaze lingered on my face for a moment before he finally turned and rushed to her. Will you come back? I asked. His hand paused on the doorknob. Without turning back, he said, yes. Chapter 20. I packed the last of my belongings, placed the suitcase by the sofa, and sat down to wait for Luis to come home. This relationship never had a formal beginning. It should at least have a formal ending. But Luis never came. What came instead was Selena's social media post. She photographed the night sky. Under the moonlight, Luis's silhouette was unmistakable. No more baby. Goodbye to the past. The moon in the sky is just a reflection in the water. The one before me is the one in my heart. Luis gave it a like. I laughed. The relationship I had painstakingly maintained for 3 years couldn't compare to the return of the one he truly loved. I liked the post too. Then I deleted Selena, dragging my suitcase. I walked out of the place I had called home for 3 years. Chapter 21. I booked a hotel near the airport. I would leave the next night. Miranda came to see me one last time. We took a photo together in front of the bar where we used to drink in the past, and I posted it on my social media with the caption, "I'm leaving." Not long after, Luis commented, "Where are you going?" "Somewhere full of heartbeats. Come back soon." I paused for a moment, then smiled and replied, "Okay." That was truly the most beautiful wish. Chapter 22. Some colleagues had planned to come see me one last time, but they were held back by surgeries. Since I was leaving the next day, I returned to the hospital to see them. As soon as I arrived, I heard my colleagues whispering, "A DR diamond ring? Luis is going to propose." I walked over and sure enough, I saw a diamond ring on Luis's desk. "Why are you here?" Luis frowned when he saw me. "Weren't you going out to travel?" Seeing how guarded he looked, I remembered Selena, who had just begun to recover recently. He quickly grabbed the ring box and slipped it into his pocket, as if afraid I would see it. Selena needs rounds. We'll talk later. He turned and left. I had seen that hurried stride before. When watching my parents' proposal video, my father walked just like that toward my mother, eager to put the ring on her finger. My favorite couple just fell apart. I thought Luis would propose to Roma in the end. A colleague sighed. Yeah, turns out the doctor's beloved is that patient. Someone joked. He hasn't proposed yet. How do you know he isn't proposing to Roma? Don't be ridiculous. Roma is flying to Palestine tomorrow. How would he propose? Clatter! The sound of the ring box falling to the floor. I turned around. Luis was standing at the door. He hadn't left. Chapter 23. I picked up the ring box and handed it to him. How did you drop something so important? He looked at me. What were they saying? I smiled. I've been assigned a small mission. Nothing serious. A small mission? A colleague widened their eyes. Roma, medical aid with Doctors Without Borders in Palestine, and you call that a small mission? Palestine? Luis grabbed my arm, almost making me drop the ring again. I placed the ring box firmly into his hand. Hold on to this. She's waiting for you. But this is for you. Everyone gasped. Chapter 24. Thank you. I smiled softly. But we're impossible now. Another collective gasp filled the room. What do you mean impossible? Does that mean the two of them? Haha. Well, we have things to do. You two talk. Soon. The office was empty except for the two of us. Luis looked at me, waiting for me to speak like I used to. I slipped my hands into my coat pockets. Let's have a meal together. He tried to steady his breathing. You don't plan to explain? I smiled at him. Let's not talk about that. The Sichuan restaurant where we first met. How about it? Chapter 25. It's really not easy to sit down and have a proper talk with you. I sat across from him and handed him the menu. He didn't take it. He just looked at me. So, you're leaving on your own? I ordered a few dishes we usually liked and handed the menu to the waiter. Yes, I've had this idea for a long time. Are you still angry with me? I froze for a moment, then smiled. Of course not. Selena grew up with you and she's your patient. I understand, Luis. But as a woman, I still have to remind you, she just had a miscarriage. At times like this, emotions can fluctuate easily. Be careful about postpartum depression. His thin lips pressed together. His gaze complicated. I continued. I've packed up everything in the house that belongs to me. I left notes on your things. If you can't find anything, just look for the labels. And the gas. I've told you many times. Every time you get her call, you rush out without thinking and often forget to turn it off. Be more careful from now on. Or, now that she's back in Shanghai struggling on her own, you could let her move in. I've cleaned up my old room. You and her. Stop talking. My hand was wrapped in his. Luis held it tightly. He gritted his teeth, the corners of his eyes reddening as if he was trying hard to hold something back. Stop talking. I'm begging you. I patted the back of his hand. It's fine. She's your patient. Is she? He gave a self-mocking smile, his eyes red as he looked at me. But I'm sick because of someone too. And that doctor seems ready to abandon me. Luis, you're a doctor too. You shouldn't ask me that, right? The hand gripping mine trembled slightly. His breathing shook faintly. These were the very words he had said to me not long ago. At that time, he had been about to go take care of Selena. The dishes were served. Seeing us like this, the waiter quickly left. I handed him the chopsticks. The spicy chicken here has been improved. Try it, see if it still tastes like before. He didn't move, so I fed him a bite. How is it? Bitter. How could that be? I think it tastes good. I mean, he grabbed my hand. Don't leave. Chapter 26. Don't go. I had said those words to him countless times, but he had never said them to me even once. We stood there looking at each other, time seeming to freeze in that moment. That proud and aloof Dr. Luis now had red eyes. His phone rang. It was Selena. I smiled and gestured toward him with my chin. If you don't go this time, I'll say yes to you. He looked at me and answered the call. He turned on speaker. Brother Luis. I want to die right now. I can't control myself. If you don't come, I'll jump. The same old trick. It was the same tactic Selena had used before. That time, Luis abandoned me on my birthday and rushed to her, only for her to jump up and give him a big hug. I tricked you. I just missed you. I smiled at Luis, waiting for his answer. Roma. He stood up. This is the last time. He left the restaurant. Only the two-person meal remained with me. I smiled, picked up my chopsticks, and began eating my portion. I wasn't surprised he left. It was precisely because I knew he would abandon me as always that I dared to make that promise. Palestine, I will definitely go. Chapter 27. Before going abroad. I blocked all of Luis's contact information. I also repeatedly told Miranda and a few close colleagues not to mention anything about Luis and me again. The situation on the front line was terrible. Bombings happened without warning. I was lucky, I survived a year without dying. But during a recent rescue mission, a shell landed not far from me. A colleague threw himself over me to shield me, and his phone flew out and shattered its screen. Comrade? Comrade! Wake up! I hurriedly patted his face. Then I saw the phone on the ground. The lock screen showed a familiar photo. I picked it up and stared at it in disbelief. It was a photo of me and Luis, the one we took on the day I woke up. Then I tore off the person's mask. Luis. I heard my own voice, filled with disbelief. Chapter 28. Luis and I were quickly evacuated. For safety reasons, the organization temporarily withdrew from the war zone, so I finally had time to talk to him. His back had been injured by the explosion, but if he hadn't shielded me, I probably would have lost my eyesight. I carefully treated his wounds. How did you end up here? I asked. I was the only one left at home. I wasn't used to it. I smiled and didn't answer. After applying medicine and bandaging him, I turned to leave, but he grabbed my wrist. Don't go. He looked at me as if separated by thousands of mountains and rivers. Stay with me, okay? I have so much to tell you. I didn't answer, only tried harder to pull my hand away. Roma, he refused to let go. Just think of it as repaying me for saving you, okay? I turned my head. The corners of his eyes were slightly red, his gaze almost pleading. It was a Luis I had never seen before. I pulled a chair over and sat down. Talk. I have another mission in 10 minutes. Chapter 29. After you left, I kept making mistakes at work. His thumb rubbed over the already shattered phone screen. Every night, in my dreams, I see how you looked the day we took that photo together. I think you were right. I must have felt something back then when I raised the camera. It's just that at the time, I never believed you would leave me. I mistook that momentary feeling as compensation driven by guilt. His voice trembled slightly. He took a deep breath to steady himself. After you left, I lived every day relying on that photo. More than once, I hated myself for not taking more pictures with you. But I think, if I hadn't refused when you pulled me to take that photo, maybe you wouldn't have left me. I listened silently, saying nothing. He looked at me and smiled softly. I've actually been here for a long time, but I never had the courage to let you see me. I replied calmly. It's dangerous here. Go back home as soon as possible. That's the safest place. I know. His tone turned lonely. But in our old house, there's only loneliness and pain. I know this place is dangerous, but as long as I see you, I feel at peace. That safe house isn't my home. Where you are, that's my home. I looked up at him and smiled faintly. We don't have a home, Dr. Luis. I glanced at the time and stood up. I should go. Roma. He gently tugged at the corner of my clothes. Will you come back to see me? You were injured because of me. I will take responsibility while you recover. Chapter 30. Busy until the next day. I slept for a long time before going to see Luis. When he saw me, he immediately sat up straight. Roma! I stepped forward to check his injuries, and he grabbed my hand. I waited for you all day. I said I would come back to see you, but I was afraid. I smiled. Afraid of what? I'm not you, someone who says they'll come back but never shows up. Roma, does it still hurt? I interrupted him. He smiled and shook his head. It doesn't hurt when you're here. That's good. I spoke casually, changed his bandages, stayed with him for a while, then left. Before I left, he called out again. Will you come back? I didn't turn around. Maybe. Later. I never returned. Chapter 31. I was temporarily transferred to a new war zone. I left in a hurry and didn't tell Luis. I never added back his contact information. In the blink of an eye, several years had passed. I was one of the few survivors from my medical team. After returning home, I was appointed a senior specialist and took charge of the local Red Cross. I just didn't expect that on my first day. I would see a familiar person again. Luis looked the same as ever. Time seemed not to have left a trace on him. What a coincidence. You joined the Red Cross too. The greeting felt forced. I smiled. Long time no see. Dr. Luis. I've been waiting for you since the day you left. You shouldn't wait. I guess there's a girl in this country waiting for you too. His gaze darkened slightly. I haven't been treating Selena for a long time. Won't something happen to her then? He shook his head. It has nothing to do with me anymore. I'm not the only doctor in the hospital. I nodded. It's good that the patients you take over are well taken care of. Chapter 32. On the way home, Luis followed me the whole time. New Year's Eve was cold. We walked one after another on the snow. I turned back. Do you need something? He pointed ahead of me. I live in this neighborhood too. I froze for a moment. I stepped aside. Then go ahead. Fireworks burst in the sky. He looked at me. Fireworks reflected in his peach blossom eyes. Spend the new year together. Roma? I smiled. I like being alone. Then I'll wait for you. Luis. I looked at him, incredulous. Is this meaningful? He looked deeply at me. There is no meaning anywhere without you. But don't worry, before you say yes, I won't make things difficult for you. Snow fell to the ground. His voice was soft. But if you need me, just turn around, I'll be there. Looking at this familiar stranger, I sighed. I quickened my pace and walked past him. Behind me, his blessing followed. Roma, Happy New Year.